From the Canadore College Radio Newsroom, this is CRFM News.
Environmental watchdog says Ontario is backing away from its climate change commitments. Good afternoon, it's currently 11 degrees. I'm Jake Beam with CRFM News, brought to you by theclaw.ca. Ontario's environmental watchdog says the Liberal government is backing away from its commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. Environmental Commissioner Gordon Miller says the government is ending or scaling back programs to fight greenhouse gas emissions and will fall short of meeting its targets for 2020 and 2050. Miller says the Liberals cut funding for programs to buy electric vehicles and develop charging stations, and delayed constructions of 31 kilometers of HOV lanes because of shrinking revenues. He gives the government high marks for phasing out coal-fired electricity generation, but says the associated increase in the use of natural gas means it has surpassed coal as the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the energy sector. Miller also singles out the transportation sector as a special concern, saying it's the largest source of unwanted emissions. Miller told reporters clearly the Ontario government commitment to responding to GHG emissions and climate change has become questionable. The Liberal government is attempting to impose a 2-year wage freeze on Ontario teachers, is leading to more disruptions for students in public schools. The Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation says its 60,000 members will step up their protests against Bill 115 by withdrawing from extracurricular and sports activities starting next Monday. Union President Ken Corrin says the high school teachers will not join their counterparts in elementary schools who plan one-day rotating strikes. Corrin says Liberals need to repeal the controversial legislation that allows the government to impose a contract on teachers if it wants them to accept new deals. He says the union has always been willing to accept a wage freeze, but feels the legislation strongly infringes on their rights to collective bargaining. Education Minister L'Oreal Broughton says she will use the powers under the legislation to stop any strike action once the threats turn into reality. In Tillsonburg, Ontario, the Special Investigation Unit is investigating a case of a man barricaded in a home who was later found dead by provincial police. Police were called just after 10 a.m. Monday by family members concerned about the safety of the man who owned the home. Officers found the man dead when they entered the home in a rural area of East Tillsonburg. His name and age have not yet been released, nor have the police indicated how long the man was barricaded inside the home. The SIU investigates any incident involving police that result in death, serious injury, or allegation of sexual assault. In North Bay, at 5:40 p.m. on the 3rd of December, a man riding a bike on Marshall Ave East waved at a vehicle that let him cross at Marshall Park Drive. 2 males in the truck yelled at him, threatened him, and followed him to Mulligan Street. The man got off his bike and hid behind some vehicles. The males got out of their vehicle, yelled at him, and chased him on foot. The males then took the man's bicycle and left. The vehicle described as an older model black Dodge diesel pickup. The driver described as a male, white, 19 to 22 years of age, 5'9", 130 to 140 pounds, short dark hair, and wearing a white shirt. The passenger described also as a male, white, 19 to 22 years of age, 5'9", 130 to 40 pounds, black hair, and wearing a dark sweater. Constable Richard Hampel is investigating. In sports, the NHL and the Players Association have tried settling their labor dispute by meeting in big groups, in small groups, and with mediators. This afternoon, they'll try something different. There will be new faces in the room, with some familiar ones being excluded from the talks. A group of 6 owners and 6 players will be involved in the talks, and the noticeable absentees will be Commissioner Gary Bettman and Union Head Donald Fear. One of the side effects of the NHL lockout is a stronger and more experienced roster for Canada's entry in the World Junior Championship. Edmonton Oilers center Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and other 19-year-olds who would have otherwise been lost to the NHL are among the 37 players invited to the next week's selection camp in Calgary. The tournament begins on Boxing Day in Ufa, Russia. And the Toronto Raptors nearly dug themselves out of a 17-point hole in the fourth quarter, getting to within 1 before the Denver Nuggets left the court with a 113-110 victory. Kyle Lowry scored 12 of his team-high 24 points for Toronto in the fourth quarter. And in North Bay weather, today mainly cloudy, with winds from the southwest at 20 kilometers an hour, temperature falling to +4 this afternoon. Tonight, mainly cloudy with 40% chance of rain showers changing to 40% chance of flurries late this evening. Wind west at 30 kilometers an hour, gusting and becoming light after midnight, low of -8. Wednesday, mainly cloudy with a 40% chance of flurries in the morning, clearing in the afternoon. Wind northwest at 20 kilometers an hour, becoming light early in the afternoon, a high of -5. Thursday, cloudy with a low of -9, a high of 0. Friday, periods of snow or rain, low of -1, high of +3. Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud with a low of -6.